All right, we're going to take a bit of a break from our scheduled MRFAU content here, which I hope you guys are enjoying. Something very special. We've got an interview lined up. One of my favourite local bands, or local being Australia, not Victoria as such, Ragdoll and the mighty Leon from Ragdoll. Great guy, great friend of the show. So, Leon, welcome to the Hard Rock Show. Great to have you here, mate.
Hey there, guys. Thanks for having me, and thanks to the magic of television for making all of this possible.
No, great to have you here, mate. Look, let's kick straight off into it. What are you most looking forward to about playing Melodic Rock Fest here in Melbourne?
We're always super excited to play in Melbourne, but for us, you know, as a band and as spectators of live music, we're just really stoked about the lineup. There's so many great bands, old and new, and some of our all-time favorite bands. It's almost like a bucket list lineup for us.
Let's go right back to the beginning for people that really don't know Ragdoll as much. How are you guys formed in the first place?
Cam and I have known one another probably for about 14 years now. We actually met over MySpace, if you can believe that, for anybody who remembers. And then we saw Ryan playing in a cover band about 2008, 2009, and kind of poached him and stalked him and, you know, convinced him that he needed to play original music with us because he just had this X factor about his onstage presence and obviously his voice and his ability to play guitar or bass and, yeah, just kind of kill it at everything he does. So that's how we ended up getting together. We were originally a 5-piece. Ryan was on rhythm guitar and backing vocals. And, you know, anytime he'd sing a song at a gig, people would kind of lose their minds. So we kind of cottoned on to that and, you know, for various reasons, ended up with a condensed 3-piece format. And we've stuck with it and it's worked so far.
Bloody MySpace, eh? Mate, that's bringing the memories back. I haven't checked mine in many, many moons and I don't really think I want to. But anyone wants to, I think I'm on there somewhere. Just don't tell me about it. So it's been a little while since we've really seen you guys down here in Melbourne. So can you just tell the punters and the viewers of the show, what have you guys really been up to since we last saw you here, which would have been late last year some stage?
We've had lots of things going on, both musically and in all our personal lives. I think we last played in Melbourne around February last year, just before Cherry moved, and that was an amazing show. We had such a great time there. So it's going to be nice to come back with some new music. We put out a single called Rust in the middle of last year, and we're going to have a new single out in time for Melodic Rock Fest. So some new music. We're still chipping away, getting our album ready, which I think if you liked our last album, Back to Zero, you're really going to like what we've done with this one.
Mate, that's bloody awesome. Can't wait to hear that new one. One thing that I've always loved about you guys is for a 3-piece, you guys are very, very tight, both in the studio and live. What is the songwriting process in a band like Ragdoll?
So songwriting for us, normally I'll sit here in my studio and just basically try to capture as many little riffs, ideas, and hooks as possible. And I have a pretty easy workflow. If I want to record any of these, I can capture ideas pretty quickly. And what I'll normally do is if I have a particular riff or anything that I'm really digging, I'll knock up a short demo and I'll either archive it or I'll email it immediately to the guys. And when we sit down to start putting material together for a new album, we just have this long iTunes playlist. I think for the album we're working on at the moment, we had something like 60 different song ideas in various stages of completion, from like fully fleshed out demos to, you know, grooves or riffs. And then we just kind of get together and we let it happen and we see what works and what doesn't work and just try to have as much fun as possible doing it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always admired about Ragdoll is that you guys sound like so many bands that we've all known and loved growing up. But you've also got your own distinct sound as well. So what were your main influences really as a songwriter, musician, really growing up?
It's funny you mention that because it's almost like no two people say we sound like the same band when they try to describe what we sound like. And I think that's always something to aim for if you're a band. Ultimately, you want people to say, you know, this is kind of familiar, but it sounds like you guys. So yeah, I think honestly for us, more so than the influences, even though our influences do cross over, where it's mostly classic rock stuff from, you know, the early 70s to the early 90s. There's kind of, if you listen to what we do, you can probably pick out the bands that we do and don't like, but we also listen to a lot of other styles of music, whether it's like hip hop and R&B or modern pop stuff, or for me, I like a lot of modern classical music, which works its way into what we do in a really, really weird way. We're also huge yacht rock fans, so Steely Dan and Doobie Brothers and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we're coming from musically. But now we don't really write with anything in mind other than like, here's a musical idea. The three of us playing it is going to sound like the three of us playing it. And that's kind of what Ragdoll is.
Mate, bloody yacht rock, eh? Like Foreigner, Toto, Rick Springfield, you must have impeccable taste in music. So, as a band, I mean, this festival has got so many great acts on it, but what is your bucket list as a band of acts that you want to tour with? And also, just personally, now, what are Leon's bucket list bands that you really want to, I don't know, jam with or really tour with?
So my bucket list band to tour with forever was Rush, which sadly isn't going to happen. They retired and Neil has sadly passed away, which I was pretty devastated about. But I would probably say from the sort of current crop of classic acts who are still, you know, out there and doing it, it would be, I mean, it would be amazing to go on tour with like an AC/DC or a Queen or something like that, or Kiss, you know. I know they had to cancel a bunch of dates on their recent Australian tour, and they did have some Australian acts line up, so that was kind of a bit of a bummer for those bands. But yeah, any massive classic arena act like that, or personally for me, one of my favorite bands of all time is King's X, so that would be pretty cool to tour with them.
All right, so at this festival that's coming up, which all of us are really looking forward to, you're going to be playing for a lot of people there that, unfortunately for them, may not have heard of Ragdoll or seen you guys in the past. How do you go about putting together a set list for a festival like this versus, I guess, your own headlining gig, given, I guess, your awesome back catalogue? There's a lot there to choose from.
Putting a set list together is an interesting thing as well, and it's kind of like you do the opposite of what you would do for a normal headlining gig, where a headliner, you might open with, you know, your biggest song or something like that, or close with your biggest song, and in the middle you play some deep cuts or something like that, and you kind of try to have a trajectory to the gig, whereas we put together what we call the smash set for these gigs, which is just all the high intensity songs, and you play the really well-known stuff at the end, because you can normally count on people kind of shuffling into the room and the room filling up the more you play. So yeah, it's almost like you just kind of try to find out what you think is going to go over best, stick that at the end, and then work your way up to it. So rather than these ebbs and flows throughout the set, it's just kind of like a constant ramp up.
So obviously, I mean, we're roughly about the same age. I'm probably actually a lot older than you, but you've been around for a little while, especially in the Ragdoll. You guys, as a band, have been around for a while. What is the one piece of advice that you'd give to someone really starting out in a band, or just starting out playing guitar?
You know, if you're starting out playing guitar and you want to start a band or something like that, my only piece of advice is just love it and make sure you play with good people, because there's nothing worse than playing with talented people who are total a-holes. You know, you're much better off going for, you know, someone's not the world's greatest virtuoso, but they're a great person and they're reliable and they're on time and they're enthusiastic and they've got a great attitude. That's what it's about, because you're going to have so much more fun and it's going to be so much more rewarding at the end of the day.
All right, look, one of the many things I really admire about you individually is that you're very active on social media in the way that you engage with, I guess, supporters and followers of the band. To that end, one thing that I really enjoy is your YouTube channel. So if people haven't checked that out, definitely go check that out. But Leon, how did all that come about?
The whole YouTube thing for me kind of happened by accident. I noticed when I was looking up particular pieces of gear, there was either misinformation about them or poorly produced demos. And for me, it just kind of started off like a kind of public service. Like I wanted to put out, you know, semi-decent produced videos of stuff that I use and that I'm really passionate about, and that turned into doing reviews and doing demos, and you know, you kind of fall into that, I shudder to say it, but influencer kind of market. And through that, I've been able to, you know, build relationships with some of my favorite companies whose gear I've been using for a long time. And you know, there is an avid market out there for people who want to hear particular pieces of gear played in a particular style, and I can do it all on my own here in my studio without having to rely on anyone else, without anyone having to rely on me. And because of that, I can just kind of do what I want. And, you know, if people dig it, they can watch it. And if not, they can move on.
So obviously, we're all looking really forward to the festival that's coming up. Anything that you'd really want to say to the people attending the festival, or even the viewers of the show right now?
My advice for any festival gig is get out early, catch all the bands, because you never know when you're going to hear your new favorite band. You know, when you see a festival lineup with your current favorite band on it, it's a great reason to go out. But then it's such a great chance to expose yourself to new music, whether that's Ragdoll or whether that's any of the other great bands on the bill. So get out early, support all the bands there, and just try to have a great time, because, you know, we don't normally get things like this in Australia. Make the most of it.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot for your time. It's been an absolute honour and a privilege having you on the show talking about all things Ragdoll and Melodic Rock Fest. Look, can't wait to see you down here. Can't wait to see you at the festival. Can't wait to see your headlining show at Stay Gold as well. So, guys, if you're watching this, make sure you get down to the festival. Make sure you go check out Ragdoll. So, Leon, thanks a lot for everything, mate. Really appreciate it.
As always, guys, thanks so much for having me. If you're coming to Melodic Rock Fest or if you're just watching the Hard Rock Show, check us out. We're online as Ragdoll, often Ragdoll_rock on Instagram or Facebook and all those kind of places. And you can find all our material to stream online absolutely free. So I would just encourage people to check it out. If you like rock music, you might like what we do. And if you do like what we do, go tell somebody about it.